Let me ask you a question right now, A's fans. Should we reserve our playoff tickets? It is good to be an Oakland A's fan right now. Last night, the A's dominated the Blue Jays 9-4 at the Coliseum. The first place A's are now 63-43, 20 games over 500, and have a comfortable 6-game lead over the Texas Rangers. Welcome, Oakland A's fans across the globe. My name is Dale Tafoya, and this is another episode of Athletics Talk Now. This is podcast number 114. It is Tuesday, July 30th, 2013, and we want to welcome you, A's fans listening on YouTube, Facebook, iTunes, Libsyn, and our website, which is athleticstalknow.com. We're a podcast and blog that celebrates the past and embraces the future of A's baseball. If you have an iPhone or a Droid, go to iTunes and search Athletics Talk Now. We have over 100 podcasts of me talking A's baseball and interviewing all kinds of A's historic figures, executives, coaches, and writers. It's good stuff. And on this date in A's history, the A's acquired lefty reliever Ricardo Rincon from Cleveland for minor leaguer Marshall Douglas. Do you remember that? Of course, Rincon was depicted in the movie Moneyball and also ended up being one of the important pieces of the A's bullpen down the stretch during their great 2002 season. But moving ahead to 2013, the year we're living in right now. Dating back to last season in July, the A's have played ridiculous stretches of winning baseball. And I think it's time to start calling this team ridiculously good. It's not how they played anymore. It's who they are now. I called last season magic. This season, I call it habit. The A's, in fact, have not had a losing month since May of last season, when they were 11-16. The last two seasons combined, the A's have had the best record in baseball at 157 and 111. And with the likes of Sonny Gray, Addison Russell, and Michael Choice in the minors, the future looks even brighter. And speaking of future, joining me on the show today is Andrea Mallis, a renowned sports astrologist, writer, and diehard baseball fan. She's appeared on ESPN, Comcast Sportsnet, KNBR, 95.7 The Game, and many other media outlets. And she has indeed developed and pioneered a niche in this industry. And that's combining sports and astrology. And Andrea, reading your bio, it all started at an A's game in 2001.
Yes, it did indeed, Dale. The stars aligned. I was a practicing astrologer since 1989, since my Saturn return, and I was at an A's game in the summer of 2001, and I remember there was kind of a buzz, you know, how unique Barry Zito was. He does yoga. He's really different. So it piqued my astrological curiosity. It's like, I wonder what his chart looks like. So I started looking at his chart, and then sure enough, he was a Taurus, but a very eccentric Taurus. So I figured, I wonder, this was interesting to me. Maybe the fans would find it interesting to them. And back in the day, it was the Extra Innings show with Robert Bwan. I think your older A's fans might remember that. So I called in, and it became a hit. So Robert said, okay, it's now the Astrology Minute. Call in whenever you want and give us, the 411 on the players, Hudson, Mulder, Zito. It was during the Moneyball era. So it was really fun. It was sort of an impulsive, like chocolate and peanut butter, my two passions, baseball and astrology. I wonder what would happen if I combined them. Mm-hmm. So it was just, the right place at the right time.
That sounds neat. And how open, Andrea, are professional athletes to your forecasts?
Well, someone like Zito, curiously enough, was very open. Back in the day at the Coliseum, I was actually able to sit in the stands with his parents. Bless their hearts, Roberta and Joe would actually drive from L.A. to all of Barry's games at the Coliseum. So I was like, oh, hey, can you please tell me what time Barry was born? And his mom was really open. She had actually pioneered a New Age religion, the teachings of the inner Christ, which is off the Ernest Holmes positive thinking work. So she was already open and predisposed, so she was more than happy to share Barry's birth info. And the dad, too, Joe, was like old school. He's like, come on, sit down, have a nice afternoon with us. So it was so nice that they were really open and forthcoming with accurate birth times, which is really very important to fine-tune a chart. I mean, we have the birth date and the place, but if you could narrow down the time, that would be great. And then, they shared the work with Barry, and we would communicate. And it was just such a, it was like the right moment. And it was just sacred because now you look back, it's like, wow, it's over a decade. It's like, God is blessed, Roberta and Joe are in the spirit world, and, so much has shifted and changed. But at that moment, at the Coliseum in the sun in the summer during, Barry having a 23-5 season and getting a Cy Young Award, it just was priceless.
Great memories. And looking at the A's season this year, Andrea, just a great season. They're 6 games ahead in first place. And, of course, the team is comprised of people, players, and they all have history. They all have futures. They all have stories. Let's start at the top today. The A's great GM, Billy Beane, was born on March 29th, 1962, which makes him an Aries. Where are the planets lining up for our beloved GM?
Well, what's real interesting about Aries energy, it's a fire sign, and it's a sign of the pioneer. They love going down paths others fear to tread. They are just completely courageous. They're outside the box, very innovative. So what I like about Beane is that he has that exuberant, independent, fearless, competitive Aries nature. And he has 3 planets in Pisces, Dale. They're actually very intuitive. Pisces is a sign of spirituality. It's a sign of a very imaginative, idealistic, kind of mystical, impressionable, sensitive, psychic side. He doesn't really show that. Obviously, he's the Aries executive, and Capricorn moon is crazy ambitious. I mean, the man would trade his own mother. But the planets, Mercury in Pisces, he's a very intuitive man. So he's got the perfect combination of planets, Dale, because we're so much more than our sun sign.
And it definitely makes sense, the pioneering part, because obviously he pioneered a great movement in baseball as a GM.
Oh, yeah, the whole Moneyball. I mean, it was awesome that the movie was made and I was in the stands. And, but even if it didn't get the accolades, it's so pioneering. Everyone's copying it, and the teams that are copying it have more money, and they're still copying it. So he really launched a movement, and he's very risk-taking. So what's interesting for Aries this year, Dale, Uranus, the planet of rebellion, eccentricity, expect the unexpected, is in Aries right now, and it's right near Billy's sun in Aries. He's 8 degrees Aries. So for your Aries people tuning in, life will definitely be exciting during this year. Restless, rebellious, kind of a time when it's really good to be open to a lot of different possibilities. So
expect the unexpected for Billy.
Yes. Yeah, and a few power struggles along the way, because Pluto in Capricorn is also squaring his sun in Aries. The Uranus-Pluto square in the sun, as you know, has really created a lot of, intense weather changes, political things. The last time Uranus and Pluto were together were in the 60s. So if that's any indication of some of the tumultuous energies going on in the planet, it's real interesting. So anyone with planets in Aries, Capricorn, Cancer, or Libra is having a lot of exciting changes in their lives.
Focusing our attention to the field, Andrea, one of my favorite stories this season is A's third baseman Josh Donaldson, who's having a breakout season. Great story. Should have been an all-star. Very humble and unassuming guy. He's 27 years of age and was born on December 8th, 1985, which makes him a Sagittarius. What's his story?
Yeah, I was watching the game last night, Dale, and it was great. There was so much offense. I mean, I watched the Giants and the A's, and I think the Giants scored 3 runs in the past 3 games over with the Cubs. So I was watching the game. It's like, wow, look at all this offense, and I was so happy to see Josh get a hit because he was, kind of having a hard time. So basically, in and of itself, you're a Sagittarius. Josh is a Sag. By and large, it's a very optimistic sign. So even if there's a bit of a slump or things are slowing down, it's very benevolent, philosophical, hopeful, buoyant. Sagittarius don't let things kind of get them down for too long. So I was glad to see he was keeping things in perspective. And there was a couple of transits, which simply means what's happening currently. So in his chart's case, there was a Saturn aspect which can delay things. So delay doesn't mean denial. So he needs a lot of patience and calm persistence through the rest of the year, and then he'll discover a renewed sense of equilibrium.
Interesting. Yeah, Josh Donaldson having just a spectacular year, and the voice you're hearing right now is Andrea Mallis, sports astrologer to the athletes. You can find her on Twitter at Virgo in Service. That's at Virgo in Service, and her website is virgoinservice.com. Andrea, one player that did represent the A's in the All-Star game was Brent Balfour, who's having the season of his life right now as A's closer. Very, very intense guy on the mound. He's been a major leaguer about 11 years, and this is his third season in Oakland. He was born on December 30th, 1977. Grant is a Capricorn. What do you see, Andrea?
Well, it's so interesting. The business of America is business when you're a Capricorn. They are really very goal-oriented. So I really enjoy his kind of histrionics on the mound and his lively nature, because as a general rule, Capricorns are very understated and almost overcautious. So it's kind of fun to see these other parts of his personality. He has a couple planets in Sag that are a lot more fun. So he's December 30th, 7 degrees Sagittarius. So as I was saying, Pluto, which is a planet of power, is in Capricorn right now, and that is conjuncting his sun in Capricorn once in a lifetime. Dale, this is an outer planet transit that lasts a couple of years. He's got another year of it. So it's about once every 246 years. So it's a huge energy of power, purpose, drive, determination, just very, very focused. So he was an all-star, and that was really nice to actually see him pitch in the all-star game. So his personality is more forceful, determined, and daring. And, no shortage of energy, just energy to burn. And I kind of peeked ahead in October, just out of curiosity, of course, knowing how important October is. And Mars is a really important planet for an athlete. It's energy, assertion, aggression. And he's having a very positive Mars aspect in October, which is excellent timing for achieving goals and realizing your ambitions. And the middle name for Capricorn is ambition. They are really very conscientious, hardworking, ambitious people. So I see him being more purposeful and steady.
Sounds like his great season this year is definitely coinciding with his sign.
Yes, yeah, all systems go for Grant Balfour.
Let's talk about Brett Anderson, Andrea, a very talented starting pitcher with ace-like stuff, but has just been not able to stay healthy for long periods of time. Born on February 1st, 1988. He's still only 25. He's an Aquarius. What's next for him?
Yeah, timing is everything. I mean, in and of itself, Aquarian energy, and he's a real team player. I'm glad someone tweeted in, Dale, that they actually wanted me to look at Brett's chart. So I did a little research, and there was a really nice article, I think it was on SB Nation, and they quoted Susan Slusser, the A's beat writer, and Grant said, at this point, I just want to come back and pitch on the mound in a big league game. I'm just happy to participate. So he wasn't attached to being a starter or working out of the bullpen. Aquarians are team players, all for one for all. They're very unconventional, progressive, inventive. So, kind of like the eccentric mad scientist of the zodiac. So Brett basically, has the right skills for that. But what ended up happening, Saturn, which is a planet of limitation, it rules the skeletal system, bones, knees, teeth, joint, back. It squared his sun in Aquarius. Saturn in Scorpio square the sun. Square is a difficult aspect. So that is definitely, what can you say? Life feels like an endurance test. You need a lot of patience, a lot of perseverance, and especially, I believe he had a fractured right foot.
Sure.
Yeah, so this is kind of, if it was me and I had his chart and I was, looking at it and working with the team, I'd say, you know what, less is more. Let's not push him back in the starting rotation. You've got that set. Let him take his time in the bullpen. Don't rush him this season.
And this is a guy that, like I said, has great stuff, signed a contract a few years back, 3-year contract. One of the first new A's pitchers, the Billy Beane, locked up, and like we talked about, just these injuries and injuries. So you're saying a big key, a key to his future is patience.
Yes, because when you get a Saturn aspect, as I mentioned, delay doesn't mean denial, but it does curb your energy. So if a player is having a Saturn aspect, you want to kind of baby them. You don't want to push them out. I'm not a big fan of pitch counts, but you really don't want them to pitch a lot. You want to kind of throttle back till they're up to speed, because Saturn transits are very enervating. You know, they kind of drain your energy, and it takes twice as much work to complete something that normally was very easy to do. And the Saturn cycle for Brett actually goes on through the end of October 2013. So I wouldn't necessarily, you know, in terms of the playoffs, I wouldn't push him back in a rotation or anything of that kind. Less is more when you're having a Saturn transit. And unfortunately, you can have up to 3 passes of the transit, and that is, he's getting the full 3 passes through October 2013.
So delay does not mean denial for Brett Anderson.
Right, but this is not really the season to kind of push him. And, you know, luckily the A's don't have to. They have a really good starting rotation. In fact, their ERA, I was just looking, they're 20 games over 500, and they've got the 3rd best ERA in Major League Baseball. I mean, that's pretty awesome there. Shout out to Kurt Young. Nice work.
You know, Andrea, the A's acquired outfielder Chris Young from the Diamondbacks in hopes to get some outfield depth and offense. And it's been a disappointing season for him so far, and I'm sure he'd agree with it. He was born on September 5th, 1983. He'll be 30 soon. Any significance there, and what do you see for CY, who's a Virgo, like you?
Yes, a kindred spirit, Dale, and one Virgo to another. I mean, there's no separating between who we are and what we do. We are so work-oriented and analytical and perfectionistic and worrisome and critical of ourselves. We really want to do a good job. So I totally empathize with Chris. And you hit the nail on the head, Dale. I believe a moment ago you said he's 30.
He'll be 30.
He'll be 30 September 5th. 29 to 30 is a very auspicious astrological rite of passage known as the Saturn return. That happens to everyone at 29, 30. It's a cycle of endings and new beginnings and increased pressure for ambition. People get married, divorce, have kids, change jobs, move. Jason Giambi bolted to the Yankees during his Saturn return. I remember that like it was yesterday. So it's really a very pivotal crossroads. So Chris is having a Saturn return, which feels like a lot of heavy pressure. Remember, delay doesn't mean denial. So the Saturn return, everyone's having it from 29 to 30, so a lot of burdensome pressure. And another additional transit, Dale, he has Mars at 14 Leo. And Saturn in Scorpio is squaring his Mars. And as I said earlier, Mars is a crucial planet for an athlete, rules energy, assertion, aggression. Saturn square Mars, actually through the end of October, is like 1 foot on the gas, 1 foot on the brake. So I wouldn't put too much pressure on him. I mean, I looked up his stats. He's batting 194, 9 home runs, 30 RBI. I mean, clearly he wants to do a lot better, but timing is everything. He will do better next year, but this really isn't his year.
Chris Young. Last one, Andrea, and I want to thank you for visiting Athletics Talk Now. One of the best A's acquisitions in recent memory for me was when the A's hired skipper Bob Melvin in June of 2011. The team has thrived under his leadership. The results are there. Born on October 28, 1961, how are the planets lined up for the skipper, the Scorpio?
Well, you know what's so interesting? This is one of the reasons I love astrology. It's like Bob Melvin is a Scorpio, and if there's one sign of the zodiac, Dale, that will stand up to an Aries like Billy Beane, it has to be Scorpio.
Interesting.
So I think the beauty, and, you know, I took a look at Bob Guerin's chart just out of curiosity. I believe it was September 22, 61, a Virgo. We're a little more milquetoast, you know, we're a little more, okay, whatever you say. Scorpio, no. They're like, this is my team, this is how I'm going to run it, step off. So I think what Beane did, which was brilliant, was give Bob the space as a Scorpio to run the ship and not be too, you know, Beane's not all that hands-on like he was with Art Howe and Maka. He really gives Melvin, the Scorpio, space to do his powerful, intense, metamorphosis thing. So Scorpios is probably one of the most powerful signs of the zodiac. It's very intense.
And of all the signs, and there's, of course, there's been controversy about managers speaking up against Billy, challenging Billy, and you're saying of all the signs, Bob Melvin's sign, the Scorpio, is the one to do it.
Yes, I mean, it was a beautiful kind of sacred dance. It was the play of, relinquishing some control on Beane's part, and Melvin being very powerful and intuitive and knowing how to do his job, be respectful to Beane at the same time, but also have his own power and his own transformational quality, leadership skills, communication skills. He's just the right man for the job.
I agree. Great insight, Andrea. Before we let you go, tell our listeners or some members of the media who are listening how they can learn more about you and your service.
Oh, sure. My website is virgoinservice.com, virgoinservice.com. Email Andrea at virgoinservice.com, Andrea@virgoinservice.com. Facebook, Andrea Mallis, Mallis, and my Twitter handle is at Virgo in Service, VirgoInservice.
And and she's a great follow on Twitter. Good stuff. A lot of astrological, if that's a word, astrological insight with A's players and Giants players as well. So it's really good stuff. That's Andrea Mallis. I'm Dale Tafoya. Thanks for listening to another episode of Athletics Talk Now. Goodbye, A's fans.